Now, Gary, it's pouring with rain there, and you look remarkably cool and dry.
I'm very dry.
Why is that?
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't like wet and cold. Anything wet and cold, no. No, thanks.
So as the lead singer, you managed to stay... Yeah, that was written into the deal, was it?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know, that was a horrible, horrible day shooting that video. Because the clothes were off, in the dryer for half an hour, not dried properly, back on. I thought,
you'd be standing around naked, yeah?
Right. In future, I want a shelter over me when I do my shots.
Now, what about this business of, I mean, some fantastic videos, but also an army of fans, and you really were the heartthrob, and you still are. Was it a worry to you that your image would change, or that you take your fans with you? Take that.
I think it's always a worry just to have an audience. I mean, it's what everyone needs to be able to survive. And, you know, I'd never had any kind of measure on my personal fan base before I went solo. The only kind of measure I'd ever had was when they used to do those votes in the magazines, the teenage magazines, vote for your favourite member, yeah. And
you all used to get around saying, oh, I got more votes than you.
Oh, we did. Yeah, yeah. It was always a fight for last position between me and Jason. So we used to be filling our own things in, you know. But yeah, so I was, you know, obviously I wanted an audience at the end of it all, and, you know, it seems quite bizarre now that it seems I took the bulk of the audience, which is ridiculous, really. So I'm very thankful for that.
But I read somewhere that you weren't that concerned with how you looked or what clothes you wore then, or basically your image at all. And then when you took on your solo career, you sort of became more responsible in a way about that, vis-a-vis your fans.
Do you know, when I was in the group, we all had our separate jobs to do, although, you know, it was a team effort. We all had different areas that we could shine in, that we were good at. I think that's why you join a group. It's because where you're weak, someone else is strong. And my job was the music. That's all I wanted to do. I wasn't bothered at all about, you know, I'm not in this to be a heartthrob, this isn't why I do it. But when I went solo, I kind of thought, well, I want to feel comfortable on my own. I don't want to feel really insecure. I don't want to be looking down every time someone looks at me. So I thought, I'm going to get on a diet, and I'm going to eat proper food, and I'm going to buy nice clothes. I want to feel good, not for anyone else, for me. So that's why I made a conscious effort to do all that.
Must have been hard to start off with, because we all know how difficult it is to change your diet and stop eating the things.
It's still hard now. You know, I'm never not hungry. You know, I eat a big meal, I think, oh, I could just go on Mars bar right now. I never stop being hungry. I don't know what it is.
Well, you're obviously not spending your money on sort of eating you know, quantities and quantities in expensive restaurants. What are you spending on? What are your luxuries in life?
Well, I do spend money in nice restaurants. Yeah. That's one of my hobbies, going out.
Yeah.
I spend it on lots of things, really. I'm a big collector of anything. Give me a subject and I collect it. Started with CDs. I've got thousands of them. Then went on to videos. Then it went on to furniture, and now I've moved on to paintings. So.
Really?
I enjoy a nice house. I think that's the reward for me, is to go home to a nice house.
You've got a lovely house in Cheshire, in England.
A nice house, and it's full of beautiful furniture and art.
Do you buy antiques, or antiques. Yeah? And paintings? What era, what century are you buying?
I buy 18th century. I like neoclassical, and I really enjoy beautiful objects. You know, no matter what it is, whether it's statues or whatever. I think that, you know, when you've got a traditional home, a period home, you've got to fill it with quality furniture.
But do you find, because in a way, I mean, you weren't born with money, do you find that you're still quite careful with how you spend it, and you choose things carefully? You don't just go, oh, I'll just have a couple of Ferraris today. And
I'm really careful. Yeah, I make sure if I do overspend on something, it's something that's worthwhile overspending. I think that becomes from not always, you know, being accustomed to having a lot of money to deal with. I think you do watch it very closely.
What does your family think? What does your mum think?
They think it's great. They love it.
Does she get spoilt?
You know, that's one of the best things I've ever spent money on, talking of money, is buying them a house. That's given me more pleasure than anything else I've bought. Obviously,
the spotlight's always been on you and your love life and your relationships and questions about your sexuality, which are inevitable because you've got good friends in the business like Elton John. What has annoyed you about that, or do you feel that anyone has the right to know what the truth is about about your relationships in private life?
Well, I think that I think a naive quote from artists is that, you know, I'm entitled to a private life. You are entitled to a private life, you really are, but the interest is going to be there. You never stop the interest. People are always interested to know, you know, when you've got fans, you know, that's a shorter version of fanatics, and they're going to want to know everything about you. It's, you know, it's natural, like they do about every other star, you know, whether they're Hollywood stars or, you know, and I think that, I don't think you've got to treat that as, whoa, hands off. I think you've got to be flattered that people are interested in more than just your music. And that's how I kind of see it, although I do really enjoy keeping my privacy private.
Would you like to be married with children? Is that something that you see in the future?
If you'd have asked me about 6 months ago, I'd have said, oh yes, in the next 2 years I'll definitely be having children, but I don't think it's gonna be probably about 4 or 5 years now.
Well, it's still young.
You can't plan it, I know, but I mean, 26 years old, I think that's too young to be having children just yet.
We've got a great clip as well from one of my favourite songs, which we're going to take a look at now. You look like you're just having a ball. I think you're enjoying yourself now, aren't you?
No, do you know what? That was actually one of the most enjoyable videos I've ever made.
Why was that?
I don't know why it was, really. The director was lovely, and that always makes a good mood on a video.
I mean, it just seems that, what with this album and the people you've worked with on it and the general reception of it, that you must feel very confident and very sort of, I suppose, optimistic about the future and being on the road again this year.
Do you know, all I wanted from this album was to be given a chance to show people that, look, I can do this, and if you let me do this, then I can do that, and that's why I'm going to start work after Christmas on a new album and try and get that out quite soon. And
tell me, last thing, what's the best piece of advice, Gary, you've ever been given by a friend or family or working person?
Oh dear, God, I've been given lots of advice.
Anything that's stuck in your mind?
Do you know, I remember one of the first, or maybe probably the third or fourth time I met Elton John, he said something to me. He was talking about, I'd just been to France, and he said, it was 7 years before I had a hit in France. And I said, wow, do you watch things so closely? He says, oh yeah. He said, I'm a real hard worker. He said to me, the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. And I thought, that's a brilliant piece of advice, that is. And there he is, he's 50 years old, and he's still working as hard as he always worked. So that's stuck in my mind, that has.
Well, Gary, I think that you've already taken a leaf out of his book, and well done for this album, and good luck with the future.
Thank you very much.
It's been great having you here with us today.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Great. That's all for tonight, but thanks to my very special guest, Gary Barlow. Join me again soon here on VIP. For now, bye-bye.